Hey guys, Mike here. So, hope everybody had a great holiday week. I know me and my family did, up on a mountain in Alabama, visiting family and everything. I'll kind of talk more about that as the week goes, but I don't want to drag this video out too long because it is longer, trying to get back in the groove, get the most important information out to you before the week starts. And so we'll definitely get into the charts of SPY, Qs, definitely look at some other individual stocks. Like I know Palantir surprised me with something that goes on in December with this stock. So I'll definitely talk about that, as well as a lot of the other Mag 7 or Mag 8, depending on which one you go by. And then, of course, we'll start off with this right here. Remember, before I left on Sunday, I did a video for you and showed you exactly what was happening, where we were at. And so this is one of those moments, you take notes and go, okay, I got to remember this going forward on a couple of different things. So here was where we were at right here on the chart. It says you are here. This one, normally, if you're selling down in November, you'll start to get a push back up. But more importantly, it was these two things that happened that really set this bounce up. I told you guys right here what to watch out for on Thursday night. I said, watch right here to see if ES takes out that white line. That's the October low. Everything else took it out. Okay, SPY, QQQ, NQ, you name it. It did not. So what happened? We came down that night. Some of you guys put in the comments, you paid attention. It touched it and then came down at like 4 in the morning, 4:35, whatever it was, took it out. And you see how important that level was. Look how many times it revisited it before we even opened. Okay, and then we rocket shipped on Friday. Levels matter, especially big levels like that. And then, of course, let's remind everybody, what do we got? ES touched the 20-week, took out the October lows. NQ touched the 20-week, still below it right now as I'm speaking, but also took out the October lows. SPY touched it, bounced. Dow Jones to the penny, touched 20-week, bounced. SPX, whatever you want to follow, bounced. So everything's got this touch. Most of them have taken out their October lows. Okay, so major levels taken out, big time moving average on a higher time frame. Matter of fact, QQQ took out even some of the September liquidity right there. So pay close attention to that. Now, what kind of movements can we have? What you got to see is this trend line broken. You got to see this area with those two imbalances right there get broken above, turn into support. So that's good confluence to break through. If it breaks through that, that's pretty good. And then we got to see what happens here, because that'll give us our fourth touch right there to see if we get rejected. Clearly, also that makes up for a great rejection point, right? If we do come up, let's say we get the green Monday, it comes up, boom, and we get rejected from here and start to sell down, you can see the white line. You can see where this trend line has been support. All right, should be resistance coming back up probably, most likely, especially those imbalances right there. But you start breaking 65.39, you go into 64.92, and then 64.57. You can see the levels, okay? And that's if, obviously, the selling pressure persists, if we still got liquidity issues going on the SPY, if that's what you follow instead of futures, it looks different, right? Because we don't have all the overnight play to look at here. But you still got that trend line. You got huge imbalances up top, which are a draw to move up. But try to sit there and mitigate this, right? But it also should slow things down unless we get an explosive move up. All right, but that is a great rejection point. If we end up hitting that, because I guarantee if I draw a fib from that top of that red candle down to the bottom of that wick, that's going to be probably either golden pocket or 0.79 fib. And so, again, it's already taken out those lows, though. So that's the thing. So really, if we get the buying pressure to move up, it absolutely, my thesis is to the upside right now just because of what's up above us versus what we just did down below. And so always remember, when you take out major levels like a monthly level on all the futures charts and SPY and the Qs, that is a big thing. Also coinciding with a major moving average on a higher time frame, which is why we were focused on the weekly. And I kept saying, I just want to see it come down, touch that major moving average on the weekly, take out October lows. Okay, that was a big thing. And also, the third thing was coming into Thanksgiving, which we had talked about. Make a note, that Monday, especially Thanksgiving week right there, what do we say? Go back to 2014, 9 out of 11 were green, 8 were gap ups, like 0.5% or more. I'm actually going to go back and research going back to the Great Depression, as many years it'll give me to actually get better stats on Thanksgiving week. It is one of the most bullish weeks of the year. So you had that, combined with the other two things, kind of a good recipe to set up. And the reason why it's important, you don't have to be a trader, but even if you're an investor and we were selling down, people are panic selling. It's like if you're coming in Thanksgiving week and we're hitting a major moving average and taking out a major low like that, a monthly low, you might want to at least maybe hold off, not advice or anything, but again, do you. But maybe hold off to see what happens, because even if you still want to sell, you might be able to sell at a much higher price than you would if you just panic sold right before Thanksgiving week, right before we hit the major moving average and bounce, right before we took out the October low. So that's another thing just to look out for and make a mental note. Now, of course, what are we at now? What's happened here? You can see clearly it's pretty much exactly what we did, right? When we talked about the move here, got through that trend line, held it for a second, got above it the next day, or actually moved above it the next day, excuse me, came up, took the rest of the liquidity out right there, got rejected the trend line as expected. And then, of course, on Friday, low volume half day, ended up moving above it and closing above it. So we can take out all that liquidity that was there before, and now there's a ton of liquidity left behind. You do got the bullish cross between, I use the 9 and the 21. You can use the 8 and 20, whatever you want to use. You would probably have the same cross. So bullish cross, and again, you don't get me too many bullish crosses, too many bearish crosses on this one, so we'll see where it goes. Looking at SPY, same thing. I mean, ton of liquidity to the upside. That's, for me, that's why I said I think we're going up, because it just left so much behind, and we're coming off this moving average and everything else I just talked about. So, no surprise. I expected it to be this big a bounce. I think the rate of it kind of surprised me to be above it on Friday. But are we shocked? Would ever this market does? No. I mean, of course we're not shocked, right? And so again, you got that bullish cross right there. We'll see if this continues to go. But now you have all this liquidity below, and so the real question is, when you look at the charts here. And again, you can see on these other moves, like, you didn't leave a ton of liquidity behind. Doesn't mean it has to come back and get it. Doesn't mean that at all. Maybe just to test the moving averages as well. That sometimes happens when you get these bullish crosses. But looking at resistance areas, you can see, do we stall out right here? This is clear resistance. And again, resistance is not just a line, it is an area. So somewhere 685-ish, 685, 25, somewhere in there. Do we move up overnight and hit this maybe tomorrow morning? Then maybe get some resistance to come down and set a higher low, which is what you're seeing on the 4-hour chart clearly. And when you look down below, you can see right here, this would be a nice resistance turn into support flip for a higher low to move up and start heading towards all-time highs. I think that's something to look for. So you have your two areas. So you could see something like this and ends up rejecting, coming down. Bouncing off this area before proceeding higher. If it breaks through that area, that won't be good. And so do we get the bounce in this area? If it breaks down below that, just look for the trend line to try to hold. But that seems more efficient to do that. Or do we just break above that 685-ish area, turn in support, and go ahead and set new all-time highs? We're not very far from it if you think about it. So when we've seen this multiple times, especially heading to a December time frame, which normally is actually bullish and stuff. And you can see that area right there would give you a discount to come back in. I think a lot of people are looking at that. With crypto up overnight, you just don't know. We'll talk about that one as well. But, and a couple of things to watch out for sure. You look at the Qs, you can see the same thing where it's about to start coming into resistance right here. Clearly that is resistance right there. And so when it hits it, we'll see if we can break through it or not. You're going to have a lot of gamma levels, which I'll have to look at tomorrow and see what's going on. So there's a lot of gamma levels above us, which some people will call like call walls and stuff. So it's just an area, not looking for some major pullback, but definitely after this move up, it's not going to be surprised to see some kind of pullback at all. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. It'd be a lot more efficient. And then we'll see if people buy that dip or not. And you can see right there, turning that into support right there. Again, big move up right here. Okay, so depending on which one you want to pull this from, if you pull up my all-time high, we're already past the golden pocket. We stalled out at it. Now we're pushing up. 0.79 fib lines up with that resistance area as well. So just watch it on that one. And you can see clearly on the 4-hour, what are you doing? You're setting higher lows, higher highs. This is what we talked about. This is what you would see on stocks like Meta and others that have been stalling out, which we'll talk about. And so is that just going to be the higher low before the big push up? And we'll talk about things to watch out for, of course, that you could see happen this week. There's no doubt about it, because that was a holiday week, so people get kind of like iffy. But again, what's cool about it is the move up was without NVIDIA. We talked about, and I showed you what happens after the last 5 out of 6 NVIDIA earnings. What happened? They sold down. What's it been doing now? It gets the pop and the drop. That's what continues to happen. But the market went up because breadth expanded. So this is actually a good thing. I showed you how bad breadth was. I'll show you what shows us breadth absolutely improved tremendously. And so, you can see above, this thing does get going. Obviously, the market is definitely going to get going. So it can move this much without it. Imagine with it, of course. So we'll put this trend line in place. You see there's liquidity above to be had. Again, it's got some resistance to get through. We'll watch the options market tomorrow morning, see if they start buying calls on it. But again, we talk about other stocks. What happens if Microsoft gets going? Well, right now it's got going. It's closed above that trend line. It is at resistance right now. We'll see if it can break through that resistance and start heading up there around the 505, 506 area, where that trend line will be resistance as well. And you can see where it was support, and finally probably will turn back into resistance for a moment at least. Apple, we talked about this consolidation, distribution. Right now it's above it, but it basically just held up, didn't do much of nothing. Meta, we talked about the rounding bottom. Will it hold? Well, the rounding bottom held. Got positive market structure shift to the upside. Hadn't even hit the 0.5 fib, which is at 670 as far as the retracement. So this one still has legs to run. Don't be surprised if you get a pullback. That's not a bad thing. It had a big move back up right there. Google really didn't do nothing for the week but consolidate, which is good. Okay, and look at it, it's just sitting right there on that fib level, around 316. And again, for me, I'd love to see it come back down, fill that gap, and make 300 that round number. Turn that into support before the next bounce. But again, I can't control it, and this has been on a crazy tear. And don't forget, I mean, people have made a lot of money on these stocks. These stocks have moved up crazy. I mean, people have doubled their money in Google in what, like a month or 2 months or something? Avgo, look at this thing, 16.5%. So NVIDIA do nothing. Avgo is like, see you later, hold my beer. I mean, that's massive green candles for this thing. And so if it does come back down, again, what I'd like to see is this area right here turned into support. And that'll be between like 373, 385 right there. And of course, you can see breadth improving like crazy, right? Because the RSP is almost at all-time high. So it's about to come into that resistance. It's much closer than the SPY is. So it's not going to take too much if breadth continues to expand. You see QQEW, you see how tech was just, I mean, it was okay, but you can see that lets you also know that other sectors were just going like crazy. This one's also coming to resistance. That's why I'm not going to be surprised to get a temporary pullback on this thing. Again, you got other people calling for major pullbacks. Let me know in the bottom what you think is going to happen in December right there. The Dow Jones Industrial Average, you can see this right here, moving up very nicely. It's going to come into resistance. So does it just push through, or are we finally going to get, especially for this one really needs a lower high put in. I mean, you can kind of see right there, that's a daily chart right there. So at some point in time, you got to put in a lower high. So I'd rather put in the lower high, take out some liquidity below, and then go ahead and charge forward and have the year-end rally if that's what's going to take place here. IWM, probably one of the most interesting ones because this one is not far at all from all-time highs. And what a rally from around 228 to 249 right there. So huge rally up for this one. It's at resistance right now. So if it can break through that, you'll see the trend line. And then, of course, previous all-time high will be resistance, where it basically double top right there before. And so when you look on this one, you don't see a lower high at all on the daily. So at some point in time, it's going to come down and it's going to set a lower high. Okay, depending on if it's going to be Monday, Tuesday, whatever it is. Now, something else to watch out for is we saw what happened last week, the VIX. Again, I like to use quant data. So they were talking about this. So, IB rank on SPY has compressed back under 10%. The last time IB was this low was in late October near all-time highs. Not saying we're due for a pullback, just noting that vol is cheap here and we can expect some traders to start looking to buy vol. Okay, and you can kind of see the implied volatility right here. You can see in the past when this has happened normally, you will get a pullback. And you saw on the SPY over here, if you look at it, I mean, it's identical to what happened back in October where we had this big spike, boom, vol crush, big spike, vol crush right there. It's coming down to a bounce area. And when they're talking about this moving up, I mean, it's not even a lot, right? I mean, just moving back up to where anywhere between 18 and 20 or something for a few days. And that's what's going to happen on a pullback if we get it. So just watch the VIX, see if it gets a bounce, or they just continue to crush it down, okay? SMH, we had talked about getting past that level right there. If we do, the head and shoulders probably negated right there. And so again, it wasn't the textbook head and shoulders like I said the other day, or I'm sorry, a whole week ago. But, big move up for semiconductors without NVIDIA, which is even more impressive. So NVIDIA joins the party. Great. If NVIDIA continues to sell down, we're going to see if the market can continue to churn without that one. But you can clearly see on this right here, same thing. This is what we talked about. When you start channeling out, needs that lower high at some point in time. You can see some support, gaps to be filled, things like that, liquidity to be had. So anywhere from 342, 345, it does pull back to hold. And as I told members in a members video, I think it was Tuesday or Wednesday, that, you can see even crypto is coming into a bounce area. Why do we know? We look back like 3 or 4 years. this zone right here has been resistance and support. Bitcoin came into it, Ethereum, same thing. You see this area right here, going back to 2021 right there. It's always been a big area of interest, and we hit the golden pockets of the penny, and we bounced. Now, does that mean it's going back to all times? I don't even know. And I'll be honest with you, when it comes to crypto, I'm very honest about this, and this will, of course, will affect those stocks as well. But I follow people who, this is my third cycle following them, and because I don't talk about crypto very often. I own it. Don't own enough to make my life any different, to be honest with you, whether it goes up or down anymore. I sold a bunch at the beginning of the year. But, when you look at it, when I see those people saying, I don't really know, just confused, their charts aren't working anymore, their indicators aren't working anymore. Why? Because I think I talked about in Saturday's video. Government's involved, corporations are manipulating it like crazy right now. They don't even know where it's going. And so, we'll see. Let me know in the comments for those who really are into it. What do you think? And of course, that will affect the BMNRs, the Misters, and all that stuff like that that have been just really decimated over the last few weeks. But now going into Palantir here, you can see December. It only has 5 years of seasonality for December, but it's really low. Like, it's not good. So I went back and looked, and it did pop one December. But for the most part, yeah, it was down. Even sometimes when the market was up, Palantir was down. So of course, we'll take this channel away, try to clean this up a little bit. But so again, there's still those two areas where it broke through this area, came down, bounced in this area we saw back here. So that still is support. So now it's at the area which was support, which now of course will be resistance coming back up. As you can see, it already rejected once right there, trying to get through it. So if it gets through this area, it ain't gonna matter. But again, when you look at this, seasonality is not on its side, even though it don't have a lot of seasonality. And if you happen to know why in December, whether the market's up, it tends to be down, let me know. But you can see on the moving average, the 100's right above it. So that will be resistance coming back up. And the big thing to look out for Palantir, if it does decide to move back up, watch for the bullish cross. But also that 190 area is going to be key. And a lot of people are going to say, okay, is this going to be a head and shoulders? Coming back up right here is going to be the big question. And again, that somewhere around that 190 area, if it starts to move back up, see if sellers step back in. There is a big gap above that. If not, if it breaks 190, forget about it. It's going to sit here and close that gap right around 205 very quickly. But again, this is one of those retail stocks it's very popular. Okay, Hood's recovered, Palantir's trying to. So let's see what happens in that area. Now, looking at earnings. Not a lot going on, not none of the big ones, but when we start going through this, you got a lot of retailers, even some regional banks. So you're looking at Marvel, GitLabs, CrowdStrike, Okta right there, American Eagle's a retailer, Dollar Tree, Macy's, Wednesday night, Salesforce, Snowflake, C3AI, UiPath, Five and Below right there. Thursday, Kroger, Dollar General, Hormel, and then you got TD Bank at the bottom if you like that. And in the afternoon or that night, DocuSign, Sentinel One, ChargePoint, which I always say, I can't believe that thing's still in business, Ulta, and then Friday, Victoria's Secret. And I actually forgot a popular one for some people, or MongoDB on Monday right there after the bell. Now, when it comes to data, I don't see anything saying preliminary. And so let's see if we get some data, which is going to be very interesting and very weird, to be honest with you, because it's been so long. But Monday, you got final manufacturing PMI, ISM manufacturing PMI, ISM manufacturing prices. Tuesday, nothing to worry about. Wednesday, ADP non-farm employment changes and import prices. Final services PMI, ISM services PMI, crude oil inventories. Thursday, challenger jobs cuts, unemployment claims, and then Friday, core PCE, and then consumer sentiment, and then personal income and personal spending. And one thing you see happening is how much now they're going and saying, okay, there's going to be a December rate cut. It's amazing, right? How they priced it out and the market's going down. As soon as the Fed comes running out, and they're like, I can support a rate cut in December. How about that? Then boom, here we go, right? So very high probability of that. And the market likes what? Liquidity. And don't forget, they're also supposed to stop running off the balance sheet. And so that's what the market's looking at. It's like, oh, we like that. And so it's hard to fight against that. So anyway, good to be back. We'll get more into individual stocks for sure starting tomorrow. I just want to get this one out to you. So please hit that like, subscribe button on your way out. And sign up for the membership. Less McDonald's combo at $7.99. So everything you get with it, just hit the first link down at the bottom of the description. And I will see you guys tomorrow.